In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, there lived an old man named Elias. He was known throughout the village not just for his age, but for the wisdom he had gathered over many decades. His hair was silver, his hands wrinkled from years of work, and his eyes sparkled with stories untold. Every morning, he would walk to the town square, leaning on his wooden cane, and sit on a worn bench beneath the old oak tree. One summer day, a young man named Dorian came to the village. He was full of energy, ambition, and pride. Dorian had just left the bustling city in search of a quieter life, but brought with him the arrogance of youth. He was clever and quick-tongued and believed that the world was his to shape as he pleased. One afternoon, he saw Elias sitting alone on the bench and decided to strike up a conversation. "You must be Elias," Dorian said confidently. "I've heard people speak of your wisdom. Tell me, old man, what great secret of life have you learned after all these years?" Elias looked up at the young man, smiling gently. "Many secrets, my boy, but none that can be handed over like a coin. Wisdom is something you find, not something you're given." Dorian scoffed. "That sounds like something someone says when they have nothing real to offer." Elias chuckled. "Perhaps, but let me tell you a story." The young man rolled his eyes but sat down, curious despite himself. Elias began. "Many years ago, when I was not much older than you, I too believed that age was a burden, and youth was the key to everything. I worked hard, made money, and thought I knew it all. One day, I met an old man sitting by the river. Much like I do now, he offered me advice. But I ignored him. I said to myself, what can he know that I haven't already figured out?" Dorian leaned forward, intrigued. "And what happened?" "I went on," Elias continued, "and made mistake after mistake. I trusted the wrong people, made rash decisions, and thought every success was a sign of my brilliance. But I never stopped to listen, really listen, and because of that, I lost much. Years passed before I understood the value of what that old man tried to offer me." Dorian raised an eyebrow. "So, you're saying I should just accept your advice because you've lived longer?" "No," Elias said, his tone kind but firm. "I'm saying that age teaches patience, and time teaches truth. You may have strength and speed, but I have seen what lies down roads you haven't walked yet." Dorian stood up. "With respect, Elias, I think the world belongs to those who act, not those who sit and reflect." Elias smiled. "That may be true, but sometimes the ones who sit have already walked 1,000 miles." Weeks passed, and the village faced a drought. Crops began to fail, and the river ran low. The villagers were frightened, unsure of what to do. Dorian, full of confidence, suggested digging new wells and cutting down parts of the forest to find underground springs. The villagers were swayed by his passion and began the work at once. Elias watched quietly, but warned, "Dig carefully. The roots of that forest feed the spring. Remove too much, and you may lose everything." Dorian dismissed him again. "The old man sees only danger. I see progress." But within a month, the spring dried up entirely. The wells revealed only dry rock. The forest, once lush, turned brittle and brown. Without its roots, the land began to crack. The villagers panicked, realizing too late that their hasty decisions had brought ruin. Ashamed, Dorian came to Elias beneath the old oak tree. "I didn't listen," he said, his voice low. "I thought I knew best, and now the village suffers for it." Elias nodded solemnly. "The cost of ignoring wisdom is often paid by others. But you have learned. That is a start." "What should we do now?" Dorian asked. Elias looked at the fading trees and the thirsty earth. "We must restore what we have broken. Slowly, with care. Nature, like wisdom, takes time." Together, they rallied the villagers to replant the forest, protect the soil, and draw water from what little remained. It took months, but life began to return. And as it did, Dorian began to walk a little slower, speak a little softer, and listen a little more. And every afternoon, he would sit beside Elias under the oak tree, no longer just to speak, but to learn. The moral of the story: youth is bold, but wisdom is quiet. To hear it, one must learn to listen.